What's up everyone, and welcome back to another Warframe video. The topic of today's video, a brand new bow that you get from doing the latest quest, the Nataruk. Now, I'm not going to spoil anything quest related in the video, and I'd ask that people could refrain from posting spoilers in the comments just for a little bit longer. So this new bow, what's special about it when compared with other bows? Well, it is the first with a special mechanic that takes advantage of player skill to boost the shot in certain ways. It has 3 firing modes: uncharged, perfect and charged. Uncharged is nothing special whatsoever. It has a forced impact proc, and that's where the interesting, well, I guess that's debatable, but that's where the interesting things end regarding the uncharged mode. The second mode is the charged mode, which is when you have the weapon charged all the way to the end of the charge bar on the aiming reticule. This gets additional crit chance, crit damage, and damage compared to the uncharged shot, as well as gaining infinite enemy punch through. Now, this isn't the same as regular punch through, however, since it only goes through enemies and not through terrain, and that does cause some issues with the weapon, as I'm going to talk about when modding. However, if you take a look at the aiming reticule, releasing the shot between the 2 markers will do a perfect shot, and that's where the bow becomes an absolute monster. It's very similar to the charge mode, insofar as it gets all of the bonuses, the same bonuses, except you gain slightly more crit damage per shot. The other advantage of this is that if you nail the timing, you can actually put more of these perfect shots downrange than the charged shot, meaning not only does the extra crit damage help, you also gain more DPS, just because of the fact you're getting more arrows downrange quicker. So if you nail that timing, perfect shot is the difference between a good bow and a monstrous bow. It's important to note though that with this weapon you do get a much easier time hitting headshots due to the enormous hitbox of the charged and perfect shots. You do lose your headshot multiplier, much like you do with the Plasmor series of weapons, so you actually are not forced to go for headshots, and anything that gives you bonus headshot damage will do nothing for those shots. So when it comes to modding, it's taken me days to settle on a build, and it's a weird one. I've been struggling to find room to get everything I want on the build, and there are options all over the place to change things out. Let's start with the most obvious mod that is missing: serration. Yeah, no serration on here. The bow struggles a fair bit against armor, sort of 20 minutes or so into Selkie's steel path, so I was messing around with mods to replace with and put hunter munitions on. I realised that this weapon has more base damage than most weapons have total damage. So in a test, I decided to drop serration for hunter munitions to cover damage against sort of high armoured targets. And well, the footage in the background is still past Selkie. I'm over an hour in with no serration, so yeah, it works out pretty damn well. Everything else is fairly standard, to be perfectly honest with you: crit chance, crit damage, viral, flight speed, Exilus. I went with hammer shot rather than rhyme rounds. I'm not entirely 100% sure on the math of this, which one works out better, but I had a better feel from hammer shot than rhyme rounds in this case. But either one works, as long as you get over 100% status on the charged and perfect shots, that's absolutely fine. I did go for critical delay rather than vital sense for this, despite the speed loss, mostly because of the higher crit, plus I'm balancing out with prime shred. Prime shred is, I know, a mod that some people might not agree with. However, during my testing, and I did do an awful lot of testing with this weapon, I had an awful lot of arrows combined with random bits of geometry that stopped my shot completely, especially in areas where tiles are connected, to the point where I went with prime shred rather than a different speed mod to try and combat that issue, because obviously if you give it extra punch through, it's going to punch through those weird terrain areas and not actually block your shot entirely. And honestly, that was one of the best decisions I made on this weapon by a very, very long shot. Primarily merciless on here for the extra reload speed and damage is almost impossible to beat when it comes to the primary arcanes. Despite Deadhead being super easy to proc, the lack of headshot multiplier and the recoil from the arcane, I mean, recoil means nothing on a bow, so honestly, merciless is by far the best option here. Also, quick mention for galvanized scope: it's very easy to proc and to build up, but the aiming part of the mod messes me up personally. If you release before the arrow hits, if you release aiming before the arrow hits, it loses the bonuses from the mod. If you stay aimed the whole time, this mod is an absolutely amazing option. But if you play similarly to me, where I stop aiming to acquire the next target, this is not going to be the mod for you because you're going to lose the bonus far too often. So with the modding discussion out of the way, sorry for the length of that, what do I think of the weapon? Well, I absolutely adore it for a bunch of different reasons. Part of it is actually what I just apologised for, the length of discussion around modding. Let's real talk for a second. Most weapons for years pretty much pick themselves when it comes to modding. However, this one took a few days and quite a few builds before coming up with the perfect build. And I absolutely love that. Diving into looking into a weapon, what it does, its quirks, making informed decisions about what mods I want, I feel has been missing from Warframe for years. Well, aside from the actual Warframes themselves. In terms of weapon modding, it's been missing for years, quite frankly. It's the reason I don't normally make weapon videos anymore, but this one absolutely deserved it, and this is part of the reason I absolutely love this thing. The other part is that this bow is absolutely ridiculous. It does so much damage, and the fact it's 100% status combined with the damage to slap viral procs on absolutely everything in a shower of status procs with multicolored crits. My god, this thing is a blast to play. Not to mention that to get the most out of it, you actually need to be nailing those perfect shots every time. So it is a hugely powerful weapon that requires actual player skill to get the most out of it. Sign me the heck up with that. I'm all about that. The footage in the background, I'd only intended to do 40 minutes or so, just to sort of show off the weapon a bit and grab some much needed steel essence because I'm running out. But I lost track of time because I was having such a blast. It's an absolutely incredible weapon, and I'll be real with you, Banshee with the Nataruk is going to be my main loadout for quite a while to come. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think of the weapon in the comments below. Also, let me know if you want to do kind of a video on my thoughts on the quest. I did record my playthrough, but without any voiceover because ain't nobody want to hear my dumb reactions to things. But our thoughts and feelings on the quest is something I can do if people would like to hear that. But for now, hope you all have a fantastic day. Hit that like button if you enjoyed, sub for more Warframe content, and I shall catch you in the next video.